All right, with us here in the studio, we'll be looking at the local government administration as a tool for grassroots development. And we have someone who will be joining us to do justice to that discussion. He's not the person than Mr. Adolphus Arebame Aleto. He's a political analyst and, of course, the CEO, Rigo Microfinance Bank. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel. My pleasure once again.
Okay, let's just quickly get started in the conversation. The local government, the idea of local government is to bring the government closer to the people. But some people are of the opinion that that idea has been defeated. Do you agree with that?
Well, the local government is what you call the third tier of government. It is supposed to be a replica of what you have at the center, that's the federal government. And then with what you also have at the state government. The local government is supposed to have its executive council, the legislature, and then some level of the judiciary. So it's a total system of government or governance or administrative governance, that it's that should operate at the local level. But what you have in the last few years is something different from what those that crafted the Constitution, those that envisioned that there should be that level of organization at the grassroots. It has been something totally different, from them. So if you want my direct opinion, I would say that not much has happened in this country, especially in the last 24 years at the local government level. Not much has happened.
Not much has happened.
Yes.
So what are the rules of the local government now in grassroots development?
Now, so when I say that the local government is a replica, the local government is supposed to be a government of its own, all right, with a chief executive, just as you have the president, the National Assembly, then you have the governor of a state and the House of Assembly. Then you also have the chief executive of the local government, the chairman, and then the councillors, who are supposed to be the lawmakers. Now, everything that happens at the federal level and at the state level can be replicated at the local government level.
Okay.
Now, for instance, revenue generation. The local government is supposed to be responsible for its revenue generation, just like you have internally generated revenue at the state level.
Yeah.
The local government also is supposed to also focus on internally revenue generation. Independently. They are supposed to come up with ideas. They are supposed to identify revenue potentials existing in their particular area. That's one. Another thing that the local government can do is to enhance tax collection.
Okay.
So today, I hear government complain about inability to effectively collect taxes, or their inability to have a wider network of taxpayers in their tax net. But you see, that's something that the local government that can be achieved effectively at the local government level.
Okay.
It means that because the local government is closer to the people, they are the ones that have one-on-one touch with taxpayers, so they can enhance tax collection. The local government can go into private public partnership. There are projects that may be too expensive, to deliver at the local, because their budget is smaller than the budget of the state government vis-a-vis the federal government. So, but they do have a budget. Okay, at the beginning of the year, the local government should be given the opportunity or have the responsibility to craft a budget for themselves, and also decide on how those revenue will be dispensed. So they can also decide to go into private public partnership. They can construct roads. They can construct bridges. They can decide to partner with private entities and say, and look at, okay, this particular road, we want to dualize it, we put a toll. They can collect toll. They have that ability to do that.
They have that capacity.
They have that, yes. They have the responsibility. And I would like to use that word. They have that capacity to be able to do that.
Okay.
They can decide to use their land. They can decide whatever they want to do with their land. It's not out of place for a local government to decide that they want to sell land, part of their land. Local government can buy and sell land.
Okay. Now, go on.
Yes, local government can leverage on technology.
Okay.
All right? They can leverage on technology. They can design revenue. They can design technology platform to do anything they want to do. They can provide social services at a fee. So there are a whole lot that the local government can do, really.
Okay, but the fear of some persons, talking about tax collection now,
yes.
There's this waiver that some persons get in those local government settings. It could be that they are close to the local government chairman, the idea his brother or relative. There are people who, in a way, get waivers from these local government authorities, and that discourages others from queuing into the tax collection system.
Yes, you see, that's a different discussion on its own. That has to do with the individual. So, Daniel, you have two businesses, all right? You have two businesses in a particular place, and one of them is doing business and says, okay, restaurant business, for instance, and then they put pay before eating or pay before service in one place, and then the guy is paying, and then the guy ensures that he collects money for whoever is, even if it is father that is coming to eat, he collects money before service, and then the other guy, the other second restaurant business, dishes out food to friends and relatives, So at the end of the day, whose business is going to do better? Certainly, the one that has the discipline to collect his monies before services. So that's why I say it's a different discussion. So it's a different discussion on its own, because that is now based on the individual. Because I mean, you can't. Because you are the CEO or the chairman of a local government or the head of revenue mobilization of a local government, doesn't give you the temerity to begin to give waivers. So if there are waivers, yes, if there are waivers, there should be there should be procedures. Okay. There should be justification. For instance, if a business is coming to establish a factory in a local government, the local government can decide that, okay, because we want to encourage businesses to want to attract investment, which is also a responsibility of the local government. All right, because we want to attract business, we can decide to say, okay, for the first 2 years, for the first 5 years, any factory that is coming into our local government council will not pay maybe signage fee. We not pay tax. So those are tax rebates. Those are tax incentives that local government can use to attract investments to their locality. But it is wrong for a single individual, on his own unilaterally to decide to begin to give waivers. It won't be, it won't augur well for that local government. Okay,
it's obvious that our local government system have serious problems.
Yes, it has collapsed.
To an extent, in some part of the country, we don't even have local government administrators again.
Yes.
The governors decide who becomes the interim chairman, who becomes the supervisory council, and all that. These problems, how can we come out of it?
You see, the use of interim, whatever you call it, interim chairman, liaison officers, I don't know, those things, they are an aberration.
Okay.
All right? They are an aberration. They are a total and flagrant disregard of the Constitution. The Constitution of this country, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, made it clear on the responsibilities of the local government. It made it very clear, and there are separations of powers. There are separation of responsibilities. Just you have separation of power at the federal, state. It also applies at the local government level. So, if the government, the Constitution has identified local government administration as a tool for grassroots development, and a particular government decides to discard obedience to that constitutional provision, is an aberration. It shouldn't happen. It simply shows that you have that individual or that government has come to power, to serve itself and not the people.
So autonomy should return back to the local government.
Autonomy has to come back to the government.
Okay.
You see, most governments have shot themselves in the foot.
Okay.
You know why? Because the local government is the grassroots. Politics is grassroots. Development is grassroots. So no matter how big a city is, it has its local government. If you go to Abuja, Abuja is not just a federal capital. There are local governments in Abuja.
So there are local governments.
If you go to Lagos, Lagos is cosmopolitan. Lagos is big. Lagos is like a certain European country. It's bigger than certain countries in Europe and even in some part of Africa and West Africa. But you see that part of Lagos where you think belongs to no one is a local government. Because it's a government, there's a government at the local level that moderates how people behave. So a city cannot be too big for you to ignore the relevance of the local government. The local government has a role to play in terms of grassroots development, in terms of infrastructure at that level, service delivery at that level. You cannot take it out, and the state government cannot do it all alone.
So are we now saying absence of local government authority has affected development in certain areas?
I can tell you, I can give you a categorical yes. I can give you a categorical yes that because some politicians, while in office, have disregarded the use of or the identification of local government administration, their administration cannot perform optimally.
Okay.
And until they go back to begin to implement the constitutional provision of local government administration, it will be difficult for them to attain that developmental plans that they have.
Okay, I would like to take you back to this one now. Now there are two major sources of local government finance. There are two major sources that generate their finance. Okay, we have, you talked about the internally generated revenue, and of course the other one, the externally generated revenue. But experts as an expert, what's your advice? How can local government start putting their heads to ensure that they look beyond the federal allocation, they look beyond allocation that comes from the government and start generating their revenue internally?
You see, you can't tie, now you are pushing the problem to, the local government. You can't,
because it seems they are over dependent.
No, you can't demand
allocation.
You can't demand something from what does not exist.
Okay.
The local government system does not exist.
It does in some places.
Okay, beautiful. So I give you an instance in Lagos. Okay, I give you an instance in Lagos. You see, Lagos have recognized the beauty of that third tier of government. And Lagos did not also just recognize the beauty. They have gone ahead to modify it, to suit them, and for them to be able to use it effectively, for development, for revenue, just name it, for service delivery, just name it. Lagos have done that. We have found states, in Edo State, for instance, I can't remember when we had a local government, a local government administration in this state. I mean, I go around and I see decadence at that level, which shouldn't be. I go around and I see deterioration in service delivery, in infrastructure, okay? And these are what are supposed to be the responsibility of the local government. So if you do not have a conscious establishment like the local government, where are you going to be talking about revenue generation? Who is going to collect the revenue generation? Is it the liaison officer or the, what did you call that name, or the person that the government has appointed on a temporary basis? He doesn't have the power to collect that revenue.
But he was sent there as an authority.
No, it's an illegality. It's an illegality. You can't be asking for, you see, those that come to equity should come with clean hands.
Okay.
You can't be asking for something that is legal from a faulty foundation.
So how can we come out of this faulty foundation?
Number one, the government of the state governors should first of all recognize that when they came to seek the power, when they came to seek the people's support, when the state governors should identify that when they sought power, they came to seek the people's support.
now that they have gotten the people's support, they should give power back to the people. What has practically happened now is that they have taken power from the people. It is the people's responsibility to choose who will govern them at the local government level. So when you take that power away from them, and then you now use your own influence to give them who you think should be their leader at that level, there becomes a problem. You see, in this whole thing, there are four things that about three issues that basically worries me. You know, which I think that it's an abnormality. Number one, you want to generate revenue from the local government level, and now because you say because they should think outside the box. Who is going to think outside the box? The person that an individual chose and sent to that place.
But you actually said that it's possible for them to collaborate with individuals to build the local government.
Yes, that is the normal. That is the normal situation. I'm bothered that the central government, as the state government, has taken that power away from the people to choose who leads them.
So, in other words, the local government system has been hijacked.
It has been hijacked. Then, when you now choose people to go and represent, so who are the people? Who are the liaison officers representing? Are they representing the state, or they are representing the people? It's the other way around. That's what's happening. It's the other way around. And my worry with choosing people to go and be liaison officers is, I mean, what is the basis of your choice? Was it merit driven? Was that decision taken on the basis of capacity, character, competence? Those people that were chosen to go and head local government offices, were they properly, were their performance properly reviewed, their background properly reviewed? Who did the choosing? So it's a big problem. And another issue that also worries me is that when you now mandate these people to go to the local government, you know, to go and to be your eye, because that's what I see now, to be your eye. At the state level, the state has chosen them to go and be the state eye at the local government level. What is their terms of reference? So what do you tell them that their responsibilities are? Is it to go and improve revenue? Or is it to go and govern the place? Or is it to go and provide services?
Those are big questions.
Exactly. So it bothers me when I see even the government itself. For instance, I saw a clip of one of our government officials the other day, berating some group of persons, asking them to, step up and chastising them that their performance, has been very poor over the period. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You can't chastise somebody that does not have a right to do something. You can't challenge somebody that does not have a right to do something.
So in other words, you give them an assignment without authority?
Yes, if you give them an assignment, there are terms of reference. That's number one. Before you give them the assignment, you evaluate them. You look at them. Are they able to carry out the assignment that you want? That's number two. Then what is the assignment that you have given them to go and do? Have you told them? Have you trained them? Have you given them have you opened their eyes to those places where they can? I mean, let's not deceive ourselves. I don't think that many state governments are ready for grassroots development. I think they just see local government administration as a political tool that they can use to achieve their political ambition.
You think so?
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's one thing to generate revenue.
Yes.
It's another thing to manage this revenue.
Yes.
So are you now saying that by the time we now have legitimate authorities in the local government setting, we should be able to drive this revenue generation to a point where the local government will not have issues with external force?
Okay. So first of all, when you have a child, a growing child that is learning to crawl, all of a sudden one day you wake up and the child is attempting to walk. When the child attempts to walk, he falls, right? And then he picks up himself again until he gets used to it. Because you don't want the child to get injured, or because you are afraid for the child, do you continue to encourage the child to remain at crawling stage?
No.
The answer is no.
You encourage the child.
You encourage the child, to walk, irrespective of the damage or the potential damage, but you just guide the child and ensure that you remove all the glasses, every instrument that can be of harm. So that's the way I also see local government administration. The state government feels that, I hear in some quarters that the state government feels that, oh, they are not matured, they will abuse their responsibility, they will abuse their offices. That argument is baseless. Okay. That argument is baseless. If you allow the people to choose their leader and you conduct an election, the executive council comes on board. Let their joint allocation go to them directly. Okay. That's the external revenue.
Instead of coming through the state government.
Yes, that's the external revenue that you talked about. Their joint allocation, that's the one that comes from the federal government. Just as the state receives its own, let that one come to them directly. Then let them have the need to think outside the box of how they can develop their environment. Because they said necessity is the mother of invention. That's true. Every local government has its own peculiarity. Some local government want water, some want power, some want road, some want technology. You can't decide for them from the state. So they should decide among themselves. But the danger in that it will be, because you feel that some people will abuse their office, they will misappropriate the revenue. Is that enough reason for you to now withhold the revenue and begin to give them in trickles? No. See, at every level, people should be held accountable for their action or inaction. So if you are a local government council executive, the allocation will be given to you. You misappropriate, and then you are held accountable. If there are punishment for those malfeasance, then you go in for it. Okay. If it happens the first time, it happens the second time, a third person goes in for misappropriating local government public
so others
revenue.
Will take redress.
Others, whoever is coming again would know that this is not business as usual. And it is only at that level that we can begin to experience real development. And when people are held accountable for their responsibility. So if a local government chairman, for instance, dips his hand into local government funds and uses it to build a house, or goes abroad to buy a house, or go to Lagos or Abuja to buy houses, when it is discovered, what happens to those houses? They are taken back. Yes, now they are confiscated, and the revenue realized, and it goes back to the coffers, and then they are left with nothing and prosecuted. If that happens to 1, 2, 3, every other person will fall in line.
Okay, talking about misappropriation now. Yes. Some people have the opinion that embezzlement and lack of trust in government officials is the reason why we have low turnout in revenue drive. Do you share the same thought?
So I don't think so. As an individual, I think that the Constitution has given me my right and my obligation. It is my right to be treated well. Okay? It is my right to freedom of speech, freedom of association and all that. It's also my obligation to pay my tax. Whatever happened to the tax, it's my obligation.
Even when you don't get anything from the government?
It doesn't. You are not the one to decide.
Poor health care system?
Yes, you are not the one to decide. The fact that we have poor health care system does not mean that you should not withhold what is a constitutional obligation on your part. I still pay my tax, irrespective of how the government, will use the revenue. But you see, the government is a very elaborate system. The government and governance have various sectors, various departments to cater for issues like this that will arise. If the government is not using the revenue that is collecting adequately, there is a channel to address that. And it is not my responsibility as a taxpayer, to now withhold my obligation to the government, my obligation to the people. I think that orientation is wrong. Okay. Yes, that orientation is wrong. Continue to pay your tax, but stand up and challenge the government. There are constitutional channels for you to do that and make the government accountable. Until the people stand up and make the government accountable, the government will continue to disburse whatever they have gotten in terms of revenue anyhow they like it. But that shouldn't stop an individual from paying it.
Okay, talking about accountability now. Before the end of this year, the state government has assured Edolite that we'll be having the local government election. So who should we look out for? What kind of leadership should we look out for as we approach the poll in September?
Okay, so, and I'll tell you what is in the open. I've sized up a few people. The people do not believe that that election will hold. So it's a big challenge to the state government.
To an extent.
Yeah, not to all extent. To all extent, it is a challenge to the state government.
So the calendar has changed
several times. Okay. Several times. It's been like that for several years. Okay, it's been like that for several years. It just moved from May to September. Before May, it was sometime in June last year. You know, like that. So there's a whole lot of there's a lot of distrust. Yes, you can see politicians running around, but the people largely believe that the government is not going to hold that election. So it is a challenge to the governor, the governor and his crew to ensure that they keep their word this time. So that's number one. If they do keep their word this time, then the kind of leaders that we should be looking for are beginning to appear under various parties. The various parties are doing their screening right now. Okay, they are doing their primaries, you know, identifying those people that will carry the flag of those parties. And I believe that at different party levels, parties have their criteria, you know, for judging who flies their flag. Okay. And they should not be different from the classical, you know, habits or features or attitudes that a true leader should have. Okay. A true leader should be knowledgeable. So I expect that the parties that are going to nominate flag bearers for those offices should first of all look at the knowledge base, of the people, of the leader that they are choosing.
Okay, that's number
one. You know, the knowledge base. They should look at their competence. They should look at their character, their history, their background. You know, you don't want to make somebody, you don't want somebody who does not have has a faulty background, you know, to carry the party flag. Okay. That's a no-no. And don't forget that this is the election that is closest to the people. So this person will be living among them. The grassroots level. So they know this person. So not somebody that has a lot of baggage behind him. If the party either decides to use their discretion, you know, or the government decides to impose, it will have a backlash. Okay. So I think that now the people should be allowed to choose somebody that is among them, somebody they believe, and somebody they can see at all times and not elusive. All
right, quickly, before we let you go, I would like you to respond to this. There's an outcry that despite the huge cash inflow from the Federation Account Allocation Committee, there seems to be zero impact of the funds in the local government council. Do you think that's correct?
It's absolutely correct. You know, I've said that, and that's what gives me a lot of worry, Daniel. It was gives me a lot of worry. Those monies, from my experience in public space and as a professional finance expert, from my experience, some of those monies really get to the grassroots. It really gets to the local government because the state government has decided to run the local government from the center. Okay. So when they decide to run it from the center, it will be difficult. When they decide to run from the center and spend from the center, so it will be difficult, you know, for such perceived or expected development to manifest at the grassroots.
So it won't be fair.
I mean, I have said it. There's no hiding the fact that it is not fair. There's no hiding the fact that it is unconstitutional. There's no hiding the fact that it does not improve the life of the people that the government at the center has promised to come and improve. Okay. It is not fair. It should go back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adolphus Arabami Aleto, for finding time to join us.
Thank you.